HOA Karen burned down my garden fence, fined $150K and ordered to pay repairs. The moment I saw the flames licking up my backyard fence, my heart stopped. It wasn't just wood burning, it was 2 years of sweat, love, and heirloom roses my grandmother gifted me before she passed. By the time I sprinted outside, Karen, our HOA's self-appointed enforcer, stood there smug, holding a lighter like it was a badge of honor. I'd moved to Willow Creek 6 months ago, chasing a quiet life in a tidy suburban neighborhood. My little bungalow came with a modest backyard, and I poured my soul into it, building a cedar fence by hand, planting roses, lavender, and sunflowers, each chosen to honor my grandmother's garden. It was my sanctuary, a place to heal after a brutal divorce. But Karen, the HOA president with a clipboard always at the ready, had other plans. From day one, she'd nitpicked everything. My fence was 1 inch too tall, my roses too wild, my mailbox not regulation shade. I'd ignored her petty complaints, assuming she'd tire herself out. I was wrong. It started with her courtesy visits. Karen would knock, her smile sharp as a razor, and lecture me about HOA bylaws. "Your fence is non-compliant. Sarah," she'd say, tapping her pen against her clipboard. "It's throwing off the neighborhood aesthetic." I'd nod, promise to look into it, and close the door. But her visits escalated. Notes appeared in my mailbox, each more aggressive: correct fence height or face fines. Then came the emails, CC'd to the entire HOA board, accusing me of disrupting community standards. I checked the bylaws, my fence was fine. I emailed her proof, but she never responded. Instead, she'd glare at me from her porch across the street, her eyes tracking my every move. The tension simmered for weeks. I'd catch her measuring my fence with a tape measure at dawn, muttering to herself. Neighbors whispered about her reign of terror, how she'd fined Mr. Thompson $500 for an unauthorized birdhouse, how she'd reported the Garcia's dog for barking too loudly, but no one challenged her. "She's got the board in her pocket," they'd say, shrugging. I tried to stay civil, even planting a row of daisies along the property line to appease her. She ripped them out the next day, claiming they encroached on her side. Then came the twist I never saw coming. One Saturday, a new face appeared at my door. Mrs. Evelyn Carter, a soft-spoken retiree who'd lived in Willow Creek for decades. She clutched a faded photo of her own garden, taken years ago, and told me Karen had once burned her azaleas to the ground for being too vibrant. "She's not just petty," Evelyn whispered, her voice trembling. "She's dangerous. Watch your back." I laughed it off, thinking it was just neighborhood gossip. But Evelyn's warning stuck with me, a quiet unease growing in my gut. The conflict boiled over one blistering July afternoon. I'd been pruning my roses when I heard Karen's voice, shrill and triumphant, from her yard. "This ends today." Sarah, I looked up to see her dousing my fence with something from a red canister gasoline. I realized too late, before I could react. She flicked her lighter. Flames roared to life, devouring the cedar planks I'd sanded and stained with my own hands. My roses wilted in the heat, their petals curling into ash. I screamed, grabbing a hose, but the fire spread too fast. By the time the fire department arrived, half my garden was gone, fence, flowers and all. Karen stood there, arms crossed, as if she'd won a war. "It was non-compliant," she said to the firefighters, her voice dripping with righteousness. I was within my rights. My neighbors gathered, their faces a mix of shock and fear. I was shaking, not just from rage, but from the violation of it all, my sanctuary, my memories, reduced to soot. I wanted to lunge at her, but Evelyn's hand on my arm stopped me. "Not like this," she whispered. "There's another way." The fallout was chaos. I filed a police report that night, my hands still trembling as I described the smell of gasoline, Karen's smug grin, the ashes of my grandmother's roses. The officer, a no-nonsense woman named Detective Ruiz, took one look at the scene and shook her head. "This isn't just vandalism," she said. "It's arson." Karen, of course, denied everything, claiming the fire was an accident from a stray spark. But the neighbor's phone videos told a different story. Her pouring the gas, her lighting the match, her standing there watching it burn. The HOA board, spineless as ever, tried to downplay it, a misunderstanding. They called it at the emergency meeting. But Evelyn, frail but fierce, stood up and dropped a bombshell. She'd kept records of Karen's past enforcements, every fine, every threat, every destroyed garden. She passed around copies of emails, photos, and even a recorded voicemail where Karen bragged about teaching troublemakers a lesson. The room went silent. For the first time, Karen's smirk faltered. The courtroom was packed when the case went to trial. I sat in the front row, my hands clutching a photo of my garden before the fire. Karen's lawyer spun a tale of community service and miscommunication, but the evidence was damning. The videos, the gasoline canister with her fingerprints, Evelyn's meticulous records, it all painted a picture of a woman unhinged by power. The prosecutor didn't hold back, calling Karen's actions a deliberate act of destruction, fueled by ego and spite. When the judge read the verdict, guilty of arson, fined $150,000 and ordered to pay full repairs, I felt a weight lift. The courtroom buzzed, neighbors whispering, some even clapping. Karen's face was a mask of disbelief. She tried to argue, her voice rising to a screech, but the bailiff escorted her out. The judge's final words were a gut punch. "You abused your authority. Ms. Thompson, you'll rebuild what you destroyed, and you'll do it with your own hands." The crowd erupted as she was led away, her clipboard nowhere in sight. The aftermath wasn't just about money. The court ordered Karen to personally rebuild my fence under supervision, a task she started last week. Watching her struggle with a hammer, her designer nails chipped and dirty, felt like justice in its rawest form. My garden is slowly coming back new roses, new lavender, new hope. Evelyn's been helping, her hands steady as she plants alongside me. The neighborhood feels different now, lighter, like we've all exhaled. The HOA board is under review, and Karen's reign is over. But the scars remain. Every time I see the new fence, I think of the flames, the loss, the betrayal. It's not just about a fence, it's about trust, about community, about standing up when someone tries to burn your world down. I'm curious, though, what do you think? Was the punishment fair, or did Karen deserve more? Share your thoughts, I'd love to hear them.